Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome everybody to the Mississippi Advisory Commission on Marine Resources for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. And I want to ask Commissioner Mayfield if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Commissioner. Director, would you like to lead us in a prayer?
Yeah, and just like to thank everyone for coming today, and also the understanding at the time of the year that we're at. We're here because of Christ. We're not here because of ourselves. We're here because He gave everything for us. And so I hope that this season that you will find time to thank Him and thank Jesus for everything He did for us. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you. We ask that you just take this commission and this department and give us the wisdom to do it your way and not ours, Lord. And last is that you give us the wisdom to do what's right and the things that we do for as running and trying to continue to keep the estuary of the Gulf of Mexico operational. Lord, we thank you for all the ability that you've given us, and we thank you for everything that you do for us. And we just ask that you lead and guide and direct us and keep us healthy and safe. Ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Director. Do we have any questions on the minutes from November 19th? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I see the agenda here. Does anybody have any questions on the agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Director, it's all yours.
Well, once again, thank you, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to come out today. I know we got a lot of things on the agenda to look at, and first off, we want to look at what we have as far as employment contracts. Pull that up. Two new law enforcement officers, so we're proud to have both of them on board. I tell you what, anytime we can keep our law enforcement and continue to operate with them, it's a great thing. And we've been lucky and to be able to get these men and women to be able to go out and keep our water safe. So thank you for the two new hires. Next. This is we got a invitation for bid and Marine, I tell you, that thing's wobbling, isn't it? Marine Archaeology Resource Assessment Report. And that's a Go Mesa project, and the vendor has been picked. So we'll start that about a 12-month program. Any questions on those? Okay. As far as agency update, our next commission meeting will be Tuesday, June the 21st at 9 a.m. Any issues with that?
January.
No, did I say January? What did I say, June?
Mhm.
Well, maybe I ought to wait till June, But January is a good one. All right. Sorry about that. So no issues on that. All right. Legislative forum. We had the forum. We met with the legislators this last week and talked about some of the things. Mainly, we got a couple of minor things that we're looking at as far as bills that we're going forward with. But it's doing some updates. One of the things, though, that we feel like that we ought to do is we're trying to put something together to be able to label the seafood. And we want to be able to label the seafood in the restaurants and the markets and all to be able to say, is it domestic or is it import? So that's something that we're looking at. We've seen several things happen. We have a bill. We talked with Commissioner Gibson the other day from Ag, and they have a bill that basically that it will, it's for the catfish, and it was put in 1975 to where it has to be labeled. We looked at that. Could we possibly marry off of their bill and continue to do this, or do we have to have a standalone bill? We're still working on that. But all we're asking, we're not saying that you can't, as a restaurant or anything else, that you can't serve import. We just want to know, is it, or is it domestic? Because one of the things that we're finding right now is our fisheries in the world out here is very hard to be able to keep people in the operation and keep fishing. Because whenever you go out, and especially just take shrimp, when you go out and you go to catch your shrimp and bring them back in, if you're getting 75 cents a pound and you're paying $5 a gallon for diesel, it's kind of hard to operate, isn't it? So how can we do this? How can we make it? How can we get it out? I think that we owe it to the public. I think we owe it to to our visitors that come in to be able to look at it and say they're getting. And I would love to see the word Gulf Fresh, because I would love to see the word Gulf Fresh on ours. If you're serving Gulf Fresh shrimp, or if you're serving Gulf Fresh fish or crabs or oysters, whatever you're serving, I would love to see it come out as Gulf Fresh, because that's what's going to keep us operational. That's I wasn't born and raised here, but I remember coming here in my younger age and then old up in life. And every time I walked in a seafood restaurant or anything else, I just automatically thought I was eating Gulf Fresh. And I probably was in those days. But the point I'm getting at is now, let's let the people have the opportunity to be able to know that they're getting that. Most of our restaurants and all want to do it. I don't think we have any of them that are trying to fight us or anything on this, and a lot of them want to do it. But if we can put the word out to say that it's Gulf Fresh, and we can put that labeling on your restaurant and put it on your stores and other things that you're selling Gulf Fresh, then hopefully that'll help us with the industry. Any questions on that, Commissioners? All right, and with several other bills that we're looking at, but also we have the CPRA. We met with the CPRA, and if you don't know who that is, it's Coastal Protection Group out of Louisiana. We met with them, and we met with the number 2 guy in the Corps of Engineers, excuse me, Major General Kelly, and then Major General Peoples over the Mississippi River Commission. And we talked with them and met with them over in Louisiana, and we went to the Bonnie Carey, and we looked at the Bonnie Carey, and we talked about the Bonnie Carey, and we talked about some things and what we could do. One of the things is, how can we mitigate operation of the Bonnie Carey as minimal as possible? How can we get it to the point that we're not operating the Bonnie Carey any more than we have to? And, it seeps every day. It seeps, 5,000 cubic feet per second or something like that, but that's not hurting us that much. It is putting some nutrients in there that I wish wasn't in there, but as far as the water, the fresh water itself, it's really not hurting us. Because y'all, especially, I know we got quite a few oystermen out here today and fishermen, but y'all know very well that you got to have some fresh water in the summertime and all to be able to help us. And if you don't, the salinity gets so high, the drills and everything else eat them up, and these other things that happen. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a way to be able to mitigate it. And one of the things that we're looking at is they have called a Lower Mississippi River Study. And that study is being done by the Corps of Engineers. They were given $25 million to do this study. And when talking to them, the generals, one of the big issues was that we don't have, it's basically going to be a study that starts in Missouri and goes all the way to the mouth of Mississippi. That's a long way. That's a lot of water to look at. So what are we going to do in that? What are we going to look at? So what we met again after this, and I met with Lieutenant Governor Hoseman and Lieutenant Governor Nungasser from Louisiana and the 5 mayors from the coast here. And we had a meeting in Pass Christian the other day, and one of the things that came out of that meeting was that we're going to go and put something forward to the Lieutenant Governor and them to be able to give us our top 3 to 5 things that we want to look at on the Mississippi River. What do we want to look at? What do we want to ask Congress to help us to get funding for? What do we want to do? Obviously, one of them is going to be the Bonnie Carey. One of them is going to be how do we operate it, what we do with it, what's the possibilities of mitigating some of it, how can we do it. Another thing is these 2 new diversions that's been brought up, and I know we hate the word diversion in Mississippi, but these are before the Bonnie Carey. They're between the Morganza and the Bonnie Carey, and one of them's called the Alma and one of them's called the Union. The Alma diversion goes to the west, the Union diversion goes to the east. And those diversions could put as much as 75,000 cubic feet per second into that area. Where they go into a cypress forest. The cypress forest then turns around and absorbs a lot of it, but it also absorbs a lot of the nutrients and everything in the water before it trickles down. The one, the Union that is going to the east would still trickle down through Maupassant and all the way into the Lake Pontchartrain, but it's going to be a trickle factor, and it's going to be a trickle factor without the nutrients in it. And the question was, Louisiana, a couple of their scientists did a study, and their idea was that had this been opened in 2019, that we could have cut us 40 to 45 days off of opening the Bonnie Carey. Well, my question is, we need to look at that. We're going to look at those two diversions, and we're going to look at what we need to do with them. And is this viable? Is it we're going to put the funds together to do a study on it and find out, is it viable for this to be something that would help Mississippi and not hurt Mississippi? Would it help our sound and not hurt us? What could we do with it? And it may be right now it's set to where the one in the Alma, the Union, the one that would be to the east, the Union diversion is set that it would open up at 1.25 million cubic feet per second. But that's the same thing that the Bonnie Carey is. That's when it opens. Well, maybe we want to open the Union at 1 million cubic feet per second, and maybe try to keep that from reaching the 1.25 million cubic. We got to look at those things. We're going to do studies on it. We got to figure it out. Somehow, some way, we got to stop what's happened to us in the last 10 years to 15 years. We got to stop the Bonnie Carey being opened as many times as it is with the amount of fresh water that's been put forward, because it does us no good to spend the money and turn around and build oysters and do everything else and build the estuary back and then have it destroyed in a small amount of time. Because what happened in 2019, about 90%, and I say that because I'm sure there was one or two hanging on somewhere, but about 90% of our oysters was all wiped out. Our shrimp was devastated. The breeding of them was devastated. The crabs were devastated. The finfish moved a little bit, but the spawning part of it. There's a lot of things that happened because of that. How do we fix it? How do we try to make it work? And so one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to find a way, and this is we're going to get back something hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days that we will get back with the Lieutenant Governor and them and decide where we're going to go with this as far as Mississippi's looking at. And but I can tell you those are, and the other question is the Morganza. Why have they never opened it? Well, mainly because the Morganza, the way it's built, it has to get 1.5 million cubic feet per second. It has to get 57 feet on the gauge before it'll ever get there. What's the way to modify this? Is that something we want to look at? What do we need to do? And the other thing that I learned long ago is that when the Corps of Engineers opens up the Bonnie Carey, it doesn't cost the Corps of Engineers anything but the maintenance of it and what they're doing. When they open up the Morganza, they have to pay money right off the bat. Well, let's put skin in the game in the Bonnie Carey, if that's the case. Let's ask Congress to look at it. Let's ask Congress to look at changing the rules of what are we doing, and ask them to look at it. And the Corps is there to help us, even though you don't think it. They are, but we got to help them help us. How do we do this? How do we help them help us? So that's one of the biggest things. And any questions on that, Commissioners? All right. Well, we do have some good news. It's not good news because of what happened, because we lost a great fisherman, but the Linda K, the boat that the gentleman was on and passed away. And when that happened, we had a lot of people looking at it. And I know that the family went out and we tried to tow the boat back in. And this was one of the oldest shrimp boats on the Gulf Coast. I want to say 1928, and I may be wrong, but I think it's somewhere along in there was when that boat was built. So you're looking at almost 100 years. And 100 years of that boat and been fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. So what we did is we went in and the family tried to get it moved, some people trying to help them, as our fishermen out there are always willing to jump in and help people. and especially the ones that are working in the field. And they could not move it, so we contracted with a group. They went in, they were able to lift her up, all intact. We got her on shore now, and Linda Kay is on shore now. And what we're going to do is we're able to get her out of the water all intact and everything. And one of the things that we're looking at, we're going to work with the family and see how we can do this. But hopefully we can put her in the Seafood Museum. We would love to put the Linda Kay in the Seafood Museum to show everybody just what this was, because it's an icon for the Gulf of Mexico. So you'll be hearing more about that shortly, and we're going to do what we can. All right, update from the fisheries on the oyster season. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the oyster season. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Rick, do you have the numbers? I know we've had to shut down. Boy, we had about 1,800 sacks or something.
Yes, sir. I think we're around between 1,700 and 1,800. And Jason's going to have all the metrics in his presentation.
Okay. All right, and we'll talk about that during that presentation. I know that one of the things too that we opened it up in November. We had a lot of rain, and the wind, and it just wasn't conducive to get out there very much, and so we had a small amount of oystermen that were fishing. So we came back in December to open it again, and this time we decided to raise the limit on the dredgers, and I may have made a mistake because I was told that the tongers were getting about as much as they could do in a day, and maybe because I did not ask the right questions, but they're saying that they could have caught a lot more. So maybe I may just change that in a matter of hours. That if tongers want to get more, we can get more with the tongers too. That's all right. That's not a problem. But we can do something about that. But we're going to open it back up hopefully tomorrow, Rick, I think is what we're looking at, because of all the rain we got last week. And we're not going to be able to keep it open through Christmas, because we're not going to extend it any more than that after the 20th. But what we will do is we'll probably come back and look at either the end of the year or January and open it again. So we're going to look at it and see what we can do about being able to do that. That's just where we're at. Any questions on that? All right. Well, I'm going to hold this update on the On Bottom Oyster Lease Program, because I know that we have quite a few people here today that want to talk about that. So I'm going to hold that. I think it's under K that we have something when we're talking about marine fisheries. When we get there, I'm just going to hold off to talk about it at that point, because then we can go through the whole process, if that's all right with everybody. Is that all right with y'all? All right, the Bonnie Carey update. We're trying to get funds out, and we were able to get the funds out to the fisheries. I was looking at it, the financial assistance of the Mississippi commercial fisheries, seafood dealers, and charter boat fishing businesses. We funded right at $8 million. And we had $8 million, and it's been spent about $7.7 million of that already. 7.1 million of that went straight to the commercial, and 575,000 of it went to the charter boat. I want y'all to know something else too, and I know there's a lot of commercial fishermen out here today, or some fishermen, and Mississippi's the only state that does this. And our Bonnie Carey funds, Alabama, Louisiana, none of them give money direct to the fishermen for their losses. Mississippi's the only one that does it. And now, did we help you? Maybe a little bit. Did we make you well? By no means. It's impossible. All we can give you under that is what you have lost, what would have been your loss that 1 year. That's all Congress will let us do. But we can do that, and we do that. And I hope it helped you some. I hope it helped you be able to, get by a little bit. I think if you had an oyster business and you would, it was something like $15,000. Is that right, Rick? And then shrimpers was 7,000 something, and then anything after that was the numbers that came up above that as to how much money that the shrimpers were able to get. All right. We also, we're doing the processors, and hopefully we'll get that done. And what we're doing there is we got about $3 million that we're spending on the processors, and that's to help them to be able to update equipment. It's nowhere near what it needs to be, but that's all we had to be able to spend. And so what we did is went out and got them to give us information on what they were going to be able to do. And some have already bought stuff, and we can help reimburse them up to a certain amount of that. But that is going out as we speak. We're trying to get it out before Christmas, and I don't know exactly where we're at, but I think we're close to it. All right. Any questions on that? Bonnie Carey? We'll be closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and we'll also be the building will be shut down 21 through 25. And that's because they're working on the building here, but we will still be operational on the 23rd and that weekend as far as anything that's going on. But we'll still have people working. But the point is, the building will be shut down, so you can't come to the building. And if you're looking at buying a license or something on the 23rd, we'll not be able to do that. We'll also be shut down on the 1st of January. We got derelict vessels. Our grant, we have 172 derelict vessel cases that have been reported, 148 of them been removed. 24 of them are still pending, and 8 of them in court orders for removal. So we're doing pretty good. I think we're still leading the Gulf as far as the amount of people as how many we are being able to remove. And I think that our group is doing a great job on that, and I thank them for everything that they're doing. Commissioners, I know we got a busy schedule going on some other stuff, and let's see, I got agency update. I got that, so now I'm looking at actions. Is there any actions?
Yes, Director, there are. Good morning, Commissioners and Director. Discussed at the November 2024 meeting, the Commission and the Director, the Commission recommended and the Director approved the following motions. One, there was a permit requested by MDEQ for the filling of coastal wetlands for the construction of a submerged artificial reef near Buccaneer State Park. There was an approval for requested variance, the use plan change, and the permit itself. And there were also conditions to the permit containing adaptive management plan, coordination with the U.S. Coast Guard, and a plan for the inspection for the presence of subaquatic vegetation. There was also a motion recommended and approved for the following state saltwater finfish records. First being of conventional tackle for an Atlantic stingray of 8 pounds, 3.68 ounces for Juwan Walton, and also a youth conventional tackle for a sharp-nosed shark of 11 pounds, 0.64 ounces for Rhodey Arms, and for a northern kingfish for 6.8 ounces for Mr. Cooper Wrightson. And that is the action items, action update.
Okay, any questions on that? If not, Commissioner, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. That's good news on the Linda K that you guys were able to pull that out and hopefully salvage it. That's definitely a relic. Do the commissioners have anything to report today?
I just want to say a quick thing. I talked to some of the folks in our neighboring states regarding the Bonnie Carey disbursements, and they're all just amazed at, how quickly and efficiently Mississippi has distributed their money. So great job there. Also want to comment on the Guff Fresh label for the domestic shrimp. Some things that I've seen in neighboring states that have instituted these laws. Number one is the fact that, they have violations, but there's really no enforcement on it. So who's actually going to enforce the laws that we write is very, very important. And then another thing I'd like to see is also some type of language with that covers the attribute of the shrimp. So we see things like southern fried shrimp, Cajun shrimp pasta, a Chafalaya shrimp, all insinuating that they're local from the Gulf, and of course that they're not. So thank you.
Some good points there, Commissioner. Anyone else have anything to report? No. All right, moving on to Office of Marine Patrol, Chief Wilkerson.
Good morning. Everybody well and having a good holiday season. Christmas is coming. Well, we got all that shopping done. All right. So this particular month was, once again, it was very, very compliant. The people, the fishermen, they were they play well with others out there, and which is awesome. We always like it when it goes smoothly. There was only one citation that really popped out at me. It was a commercial fishing north of the CSX bridge. There was a Vietnamese gentleman that had caught 93 sheep's head, was trying to sell them. So at the end of the day, in an entanglement net at that, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good pop. We have checked 1,400 individuals, roughly, in the month of November, and that's pretty good for a winter month. So I'll field any questions if you have any.
Questions? I really appreciate the report, Chief. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Moving on down. Looks like Miss Charmaine for Public Affairs.
Good morning. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 14 media mentions since the November MACMR meeting. News items included the opening of oyster season in Mississippi, the cockroach artificial reef being deployed, and restaurants selling seafood on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The Office of Marine Patrol assisted with Long Beach's Sea Santa celebration on December 7th. Marine Patrol and the Artificial Reef Bureau took part in Pathways to Possibilities on November 20th and 21st. Marine Patrol was stationed in the Law and Public Safety Pathway, and the Artificial Reef Bureau had their booth in the Marine Science Pathway. The two-day event had thousands of students participating from throughout the southern part of the state. Staff in the Office of Marine Fisheries participated in the Bays and Bayou Symposium November 19th through the 20th in Biloxi. In the Shellfish Bureau, scientist Catherine Glover presented Tracking the Natural Replenishment of Mississippi's Eastern Oyster Reefs After a Fisheries Disaster. Scientist Madison Parker presented From Training to Harvest, the implementation and outcomes of Mississippi's off-bottom oyster aquaculture training program. And team lead Ellen Coffin presented Reviving Biloxi Bay, MDMR's adaptive restoration of a local oyster reef. Shellfish Bureau Director Jason Ryder served on the event steering committee. In the Shrimp and Crab Bureau, team lead Melody Chaplin presented Impact of Hydrological Changes and Flood Events on Recruitment of Juvenile Fish and Invertebrate Populations in Mississippi Estuaries. And additionally, all Shrimp and Crab Bureau staff represented MDMR in our agency booth for the duration of the symposium. I also added calendars to the back. We have our 2025 marine information calendars, and they've also been distributed along the coast. I really want to thank our coastal CRM and Shrimp and Crab Bureau for distributing the calendars for our office. It takes a lot of people to kind of get everything in and brought in. So if anybody needs calendars, we have them up at the front in licensing and also with Capitol Police, and there are also some in the back.
Thank you very much. Lots of participation I see every month. That's great stuff. Moving on down to Office of Marine Fisheries, Jason.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jason Ryder. Brady, do you mind pulling up the presentation? Thank you. Jason Ryder, I'm the Shellfish Bureau Director. I'm going to give a quick update on the 2024 oyster season to where we're at today. So just a summary of what we had in November. It was 10 days, opened on the 13th. It ran through the 26th. We did have some bad weather days, as the Director mentioned. We did have some windy days, but people were out there fishing, and we saw some good results on it. All of the western reefs were available. The permitted areas were open. It was for tonging and dredging, and at the November season, it was 10 sacks per boat per day. Some of the numbers that we had in November, we had just over 700 sacks harvested. The average sacks per day was 64. Licenses was 101. And then you can see the breakdown below. In-state dredge was 62, in-state tong was 24, and then we did have some out-of-state licenses sold. Of those licenses that were sold, we had 20 people fishing during the season. We had approximately 6 tongers per day, and then approximately 3 dredgers per day. Those numbers are averages, so. And then the main area fished was 2A and 2F, and I can show you that next. And if you look on the screen here, It was basically the Tongan box, the southern side of the Tongan box, and then inside the Tongan box. This whole area over here was where everyone was fishing. As you can see, we had about 79.9% of the total harvest came from that area. And then we did get reports from the harvesters. They saw a lot of clusters on the oysters, a lot of variation sizes. We talked to a lot of people that had to cull the oysters, spent a lot of time cleaning off their oysters for the market, and had to get them ready. So that's a good sign for us. I know it is more work for them, but we do want to see size class variations, and we wanted to see a significant amount of oysters in those areas. So that was the November season. And then real quick for where we're at for December right now, the season did open on December 9th. We closed last week on December 13th due to management criteria. And again, we did have the Western Reefs available, Tongan dredging, and it was 10 sacks for tongers, 20 sacks for dredgers, and then rec was 3 sacks per week. To date, we've harvested approximately 1,200 sacks in the December season, and that brings the total to date just shy of 2,000 sacks. It's going to be 1,911 sacks for the year. And then we're seeing an average of 18 dredgers per day for the December season and 7 tongers per day for, again, the December season. As I mentioned, the areas in the west are closed at this time due to the rainfall in the Pearl River stages. We have to have acceptable conditions in both of those. Unfortunately, it did rain last week and the river did increase. The flood stage did increase. We ran samples on Saturday. We got those results on Sunday. Unfortunately, they did not come back adequate, so we ran them again yesterday. And we're waiting for those results today. And as soon as we get those, we'll make decisions according to the results. Any questions? Yes.
Jason, I just talking to some of the people out here just this morning, even possibility, you know, we looked at whenever we changed the rules to say we'd go to 20 for the dredgers, but we kept it 10 for the tongers. And I was under the impression that the tongers at 10 was about what they wanted today, but I think that from talking to some of them that they would like to see it upped. So is that something that we could do just by changing the order now before we open, when we open back up tomorrow? If we do that, is that something that we could do, or do we have to go through some other thing? Sandy, maybe you can help
I
me.
think we do have the authority, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we do have authority to make those types of
You
decisions.
can do an amended order.
And, you know, I would like to do something else, and, you know, just to say that, let's change it to maybe, if somebody can give me an idea, is 15 sacks a good number for the tongers, or do we need to, is that a good number? All right, and why don't we do 15, why don't we just change tomorrow, since our numbers are, and the rain we have, let's change it to 15 and 25.
So we can look at that, but I do want to cautious. We do have to wait for those results and get those.
I
back
know,
in.
but if it's
Okay.
gonna come out tomorrow, if we're gonna open tomorrow, when we open back up for the rest of this season that we're gonna have this week, let's change it to 15 and 25. Is that all right, Rick? You,
can-
I know you ain't you sitting here, man, and I'm hitting you blindsided here. Well, I mean,
think we
right
could-
now, we've lost 4 days. You
Yeah.
know, let's try to help them get what we can, all right? So let's change it to 15 and
I
25.
think there's some things we can look at, and I think we can certainly discuss it and make those changes if deemed
Okay,
necessary.
let's try to do that, okay?
Any other questions?
Any questions for Jason? No, appreciate the update,
Thank you.
Jason. Thank you, man. All right, Miss Aisha Gray.
Oh,
Go
wait,
ahead.
we still got K1. All right, we're still on that, all right?
Okay.
All right, the other thing is, I said I was gonna hold off on the stuff about the oyster season.
Yeah.
And, about the on bottom. All right, what we did is, you know, we went out and I was trying to get all the data in front of me because, we started this in, gosh, I wanna say 2018 that we started looking at this. And we brought it up a bill and it was a bill that was brought up in the House and the Senate to be able to lease the bottoms to private individuals, and it was shot down by the Senate and the House. And they did not, when I say shot down, it didn't pass. It didn't come out of committee. So then it came back, and then in 2023, we had a new bill that came out, and it was brought out of the House and the Senate to be able to lease the bottoms to private individuals. And this is to what we were looking at is what we could do to and how much of it would be done. That bill was put out and it was passed, but then when it was passed, we had some issues with it, and so we tried to go through the process of being able to figure out how to legally lease these things to the individuals, and it just didn't work out in the 2023 bill. So what we told the House and Senate is we need to modify that if that's what we're going to do. And so in 2024, January 2024, we had a new bill, and I don't have the House bill, the Senate bill in front of me, but was put out. And Rick, y'all maybe can look it up and give it to us so we can put this public out here. But we went in, and so they basically, oh, Sandy's got it. Thank you. 2648 was the bill, and that was publicized, and it was brought out. And one of the things that they did, the House and the Senate, and it was brought to us that basically we'd like to lease the bottoms and lease them to private individuals so that we can get more oysters into the estuary. The biggest problems, one of the big problems that we had as far as the Department of Marine Resources is we had 12,000 acres. And out of that 12,000 acres, we were having a hard time, especially after a thing like the Bonnie Carey, to reculture it and modify it and be able to keep it going. So they were looking at what we could do to be able to help bring this, and it's worked well in Louisiana, it's worked well and it's working in Texas right now, and so the idea was let's try it in Mississippi. So they passed legislation this last January. Well, they passed it in April, I think, is when it actually got through, and it was signed over by the governor. And so the bill is in to where we would lease 80% of the bottoms. And that's what the word is, was 80% of the bottoms would be leased and 20% would be kept. And I don't know, Rick, did we ever get a copy? I would love to be able to show them what is leasable and what's not. Can we get that, Brady? Have you got it by any chance? There's a picture of what we've been working off of, the map. Okay, is that just the blue areas? Rick, where's the whole area? The
So
map
those
shows
are
it.
just the state-owned reefs, Brady. If you'll pull up the website, it has an interactive map where it has the available areas for lease as well as the state-owned reefs.
I want y'all to see what we're talking about. And, I was very surprised this morning because I thought we'd got the word out. I thought we'd done as good a job as we could possibly do to get the word out. And, we had been talking about this on the news. We'd been talking about this in the papers. We've been talking about this on Facebook and everywhere else, in social media. And we'd been trying to do everything that we could to get the word out that we were going to do this. We had public comment, and I'm still waiting for the actual paperwork to tell me when the actual public comment was. But we went out on public comment. I want to say it was back in August, September timeframe. Am I right? I'm sorry I'm not prepared because I did not realize that this was coming up today because it had not been brought to my attention until this morning. Okay, so we're trying to get prepared as much as we can here, commissioners, and to the public. All right, help me walk through this. Round one application period was 7/21 to 8/04, and then round two was 10/1 to 12/2, and we put out public notice that the MDMR would accept proposals on bottom. And that was done in July of the 20th. I'm trying to keep this, back in February, we issued notice of cancellation of it, and that was for the first one, and that's what I'm talking about from the year before. And then September the 20th, accepted proposals for on-bottom shellfish leases. And then in December was when it closed, on December the 2nd, I think is when it closed. But Rick, when did we do the public notice thing? When did we put out for public notice? That's not public notice right there.
So round one was July 20th.
Did we put out a thing that we had I think that we did we not meet with the commission here? And the commission put out a thing to go forward and say that we would put out a public notice for 30 days, I think it was.
Yes, sir. That would have been prior to it have been in the June 2023 meeting, and then for this year, it would have been sometime. We can get those dates, but it was talked about multiple times with this commission, and it was voted on to move forward for October.
When let's see, before this meeting's over today, we're gonna have some comments here, and we're gonna have time to be able to get this information. Let's find out the information we can, and let's get when was it actually put out for public notice for people to be able to make comments to say whether or not they wanted this to happen. Okay. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
And let's get that information out. So what I want to do is I want to get that information, and the situation we're in now. And one of the gentlemen I was talking to a while ago, I'm not going to call names out or anything else, but he would like, well, you know, we saw you on the news talking about that it's going to be January. Well, the January thing was that we gave all the people that had put in to lease the bottoms. We gave them to January the 15th to get their correct data in case they had something that was messed up, and we could get it back to them, and we could work back and forth with them. And so that's what the January the 15th was, and that's what we're looking at. We're going through leases right now. I don't have the exact number, but we did on the last commission meeting. I think we talked about the numbers of leases, and Sandy, maybe you can, one of y'all, if somebody can help me pull that up. Because I want to be as open as I can. I'm not trying to hide anything. I didn't try to hide anything to start with, and I'm not trying to hide anything now. I never, ever not wanted the fishermen to be aware of what was going on. But obviously, I have failed. And I got to find out what we did and how we did it and figure out where's our mistakes. You know, what did we do wrong? But I got to find out that. But, I don't have, if I'd known about this, but, you know, that y'all were upset about it, I would have already had everything in the world put together, but I did not. I can just tell you, I want to say that we had, and I can't remember the number, there was like 18 different companies or individuals that put in for a lease. I want to say that's the number, and I'm not right, but we will get that data for you, okay, here in just a few minutes. And it may have been but they were like 61 different leases. I want to say, I'm trying to remember from the last meeting, but and out of that, it was from 18 different organizations. Now, one thing that we did with that is we went in and said that you got to show us that you have the capability of managing this reef and you have the capability to do what you're supposed to do. I didn't want somebody to come in and say, oh, well, I'll give you $2 or $3 an acre for the lease, and then I'll turn around and I'll go out there and kill and take every oyster off that, and then I won't ever do anything with it. We didn't want that. What we wanted was somebody that was going to maintain it. We wanted someone that if they're going to lease this bottoms, that they would maintain it. And they had to show us that they had experience doing it. And it was experience of that you have to have experience as far as how many years that you've done this, how many years the capability of it, the financial backing, and it was required that if you leased 100 acres, you had to be able to at least mulch and seed 50% of that in the first 5 years. So we're trying to feed back. We're trying to feed back and feed back and feed back to be able to get it out. One of the main things that we wanted to do is, the more oysters that we can get in the water, the better off it will be because they feed our estuary. That was one of the major reasons that we looked at this, because they do feed our estuary. They feed our estuary. About the best thing in the world that we can have is an oyster growing. And so that's something that we looked at, and how could we make this work? And, once again, I don't know anything other than to say I'm sorry, but the fact that I didn't get the word out correctly. I just don't understand how I didn't, but I'm going to find out. Because I'm the type person that I am an open book. And I think if any of you have ever talked with me and come to me and sat down with me or anything, that I'm an open book about everything. I will tell you everything. I don't hold anything back. That's not my job. I work for you. I don't work for myself, and I don't work for anybody else. I work for you. And that's what my job is. My job is to maintain the estuary in the state of Mississippi for what we have and be able to do it to the best ability we can. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to try every way we can. Here we go. All right. You see the areas there? Now, Rick, somebody come here so I don't mess this up. Jason, Rick, somebody talk to us about what we're talking about here and what areas and what we're looking at.
So what we have here is this is a map of all of the Western Sound, and the colored portions are available for private leasing. This is the presentation we gave earlier this year. We divided into zones, and then you would apply per zone in the area that you want. So if an applicant was interested in zone 2, they could come in and draw a box through the application portal that we had on the DMR website, submit, and then apply with their coordinates and provide the associated documentation to prove that they're eligible and qualified to lease that area.
Jason, now, and the hatched areas that are not colored, they were either going to be state reefs or either were already privately leased before. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the state reefs are these areas in zone 3 and 4, and then the other hatched areas are all private existing on bottom leases. So those are leases that have been in, they've been active for a long period of time with private companies. And this website, I believe, went
Jason, do you remember
live.
when we first started leasing bottoms to private individuals?
It's been a while. We've been doing it for multiple decades. I'd
Okay.
say back to
But
at least-
but we had very little participation in that, right?
yes, we've never had much participation with private leases because we've had the public resource available.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe the application period opened. I believe it was the 2nd of October, and it ran till it may have been the 1st of October through the 2nd of December. The application period was open for this. Any other questions with this? I think
One thing I just want to, they showed, if you look in the red area and the green area, the hashed out there, that is what the state is keeping. Is that correct?
yes.
So I want y'all to understand that's what the state is keeping right now. Whenever we worked with the legislature, we hashed it down, and I tell you what, we fought hard to get 20%. And we fought hard to be able to get 20% of that and be able to keep that much. Our goal is to maintain that 20% and be able to culture it, be able to seed it, to be able to keep it going over the years. That's the only. Now we got some on the east side too, I think, but which is probably not showing here.
So real quick, as you mentioned, Director, that is our focus on restoration is those state-owned reefs. Any restoration that we're doing is going into those areas.
Yeah.
And the goal of that is to help restore the sound and help promote oysters for private or public reefs. So that's the goal there.
Yeah, the idea is to be able to keep the estuary fed
Yep.
as much as we possibly can, and how we do that is I don't know. We looked at it, and just to take an acre of land and be able to take it from if it wasn't already mulched is about $4,000. Is that right, Jason? To be able to culture that and be able to and to be able to get it presentable for oysters, I think is what we figured. Is that
That's
right?
what we came up with. Yes.
All right. We'll work on. I want to get the other data, but I know we got comments, and I want to get comments from the fishermen here. But let's look at this, and we're gonna make this open. So if when we get down, once again, I'm gonna have to limit you to 3 minutes so we can get everybody. Okay, but that's understandable. But the point is, we're not gonna get out of here till we get to hear what you have to say. Is that understandable too? We're not gonna leave you out. And I'm once again, I'm very, very shocked about what's happening this morning because it just caught me totally off guard. I had no idea that y'all didn't know. I had no idea. And, it's really caught me totally off guard. So let's go back and, Commissioner, if you want to start out with which ones you want to do first, as far as calling for public comment, and then we'll have the others, and maybe we can get this other data till we can bring it to the people.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. John Livings. Mr. Livings, if you just state your name and address, and then the clock is on the wall there for the 3 minutes. Good.
My name's John Livings. I live in Pascagoula, 22109 Grimes Street. I've been a fisherman my whole life. The bottom, I don't think y'all realize what y'all are doing with leasing it out, really, because you giving 100% to the leaseholder. So the fishermen, they have no voice in it no more, none. So if they work it, 50% of what they make goes to the deal, to whoever the leaseholder is. So they have no control to even possibly sell sacks to people that's been buying for years and years from them. I personally, in 2015, when it last closed, was catching 150 sacks a day in Mississippi. We worked 5 boats every day. My address is on every one of those licenses I bought. You would think that a letter could come to my house to talk about on-bottom leasing. The other thing was, in 2014, I applied to lease some bottom on the southwest corner of Square Handkerchief, and I was denied because it's the law that they read to me said no bottom in Mississippi could be leased if it had grit, shells, or live oysters on it. It had to be raw, untapped bottom. So I don't understand how they're giving them millions of dollars worth of oysters on something that all the taxpayers paid for and money was delegated and already seeded. They don't have to put anything on that lease. All they got to do is go to work. That's all they got to do, because the Mother Nature and what y'all have done has already reseeded the reef. So they don't have to do anything. All they got to do is go make money. So I think it's crazy, really, because this historical reefs, it's always been public reef. There was a few private lease, but the guys that had the private leases, they didn't fall under the 5-year program to have it leased. Some of them's had them for 20 years, done nothing. All they've done is collect money on those leases when there's a natural disaster. They'll put a few tons of crushed concrete on it and collect hundreds of thousands of dollars. So their leases all should have been pulled. I mean, and our kids that are growing up, they no longer have the opportunity to go out there and publicly learn and do. I'm second generation. I have 8 kids. So 2 of my sons have done it, but the 2 of them's just now coming of age to do it. And I mean, I don't want them to go to work for someone else. That they should be able to go and freely do it on their own, on the public reef, like it's been forever. Every time we put our fingers in Mother Nature, we mess it up. So, I mean, and I think you're making a huge mistake now. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Livings. All right. We have Mr. Roscoe Labig. I might not have said that right, Roscoe, but if you could state your name and address when you get up, and you have 3
Roscoe
minutes.
Liebig is the single one. Roscoe Liebig, 19220 Road 388, Pascagoula, Mississippi. My father wasn't a fisherman. My grandfather wasn't a fisherman. And like John said, last time we drug an oyster, my daughter was 4 years old. And this oyster reef will come back. I mean, I've seen down the way we had 2 dredges on my shrimp boat to make 15 sacks. Oysters was in bad shape. Bonnie Carey came on a bait shop. I've seen everything. I spent 8 hours a day driving my boat. I've seen the oyster reef die. I've seen the reef come back. I've seen oysters around my bait shop. This reef will come back, but leasing it out, no. We got a limited season right now. All the boats are doing the same thing. They go into one spot where it's good. They gave us like 10 days. We missed the first 10 days. We didn't make it. It took me about $1,800 to get my boat ready to go catch these oysters. We pulling dredges out of the woods, out of the grass. But this reef will come back. I got a feeling. And y'all have not seen anything yet. You've got what few boats you guys work in one spot. And you're talking about leasing 80% of the ground out. Turn these boats loose, let them go out there. And if you had to manage them, say y'all work this spot for this 10 days, close that area, send the boats to another spot. Then you'll get an idea of what's out there. Because these boats ain't even went looking around yet. But my boat, they're dredging 20 sacks. It's taking them 2 hours and 15 minutes to get them. That's about 10 sacks an hour. And I got another minute and a half to go. But I can't say anything else. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. And I think y'all see the outcome of all these people here. But this reef will come back. And we've had hundreds of boats out there working. And you're talking about, like, one of the world's largest public reefs. And if you lease it out, you're taking that from them. And it only took 2 minutes. It's one of the things. My boat today is tied up. I'm not out catching bait because of this meat. And tomorrow I will be out catching bait. I was supposed to go today. But you see the outcome. You see the people here. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Roscoe.
That's all.
Thank you for your comments. All right, we have Mr. Ryan Bradley. Name and address, Ron, please.
Right. So Ryan Bradley, RYAN, in Long Beach, Mississippi. Currently been serving as the executive director of Mississippi's Commercial Fisheries United. I had the privilege and honor to grow up in Pass Christian Harbor on the oyster reefs. I know a lot of these guys and girls in the back. We've worked together. We've bled together. We've weathered every storm together. And here we are still standing. We're still here. And the biggest threat that we have comes from the political class taking away what we've been holding on to for decades. And these comments aren't directed at this commission. I know y'all are in an advisory capacity only. And I want to give my apologies to Director Spraggins for not bringing this directly to you. You've been great over the years, keeping communication open with us. But these comments are really directed at our politicians because they're the ones that authorize this, right? They're the ones that approve this. And we talk about all the notice that was given. We've got an oyster task force. Did they have a chance to comment on this proposal? Did we convene that oyster task force to let them vet out some of these issues? I don't recall that we did. It's come to my attention, and this is very concerning to us, is last leases that were approved, we've learned that some of the staff here at the agency, relatives, were getting prime spots of these leases. That's very concerning. We've learned that one of the commissioners sitting up here has been awarded a spot last year. These are things that are concerning to us because it's the same trend that we've seen before decades ago. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we can get specific, but we don't want to go there.
Ryan, before you get, once again, I'm going to address everything. I don't know what you're talking about. First off, I don't know that there's a single soul in this agency that's applied for anything, and I don't think I don't even know that there's a single soul on this commission that have. Because first off, I haven't seen them. I don't even know who they are. All right.
Fair enough.
The point I'm getting at is there's a process that it goes through. And if there's something that is happening there, I'd love to know about it because first off, I mean, obviously, I'm trying to think of if someone here like Matthew, I know he does off bottom, and I know he does off bottom and everything. He's been doing that and everything else. But if he's got an oyster business, then yes, should he be able to apply? Yeah, he'd be able to apply for something like that if that's what he's got. But he's going to have to compete through the same process that everybody else. He's not going to get any little attaboy a check mark just because he's doing it. I can tell you that.
That's fair enough. And we respect the process. And it's not an affront on anybody that may be taking advantage of what's available to them. We don't criticize anybody for that. But it's hard for us to trust the process when we've been systematically disregarded. The fishermen have been systematically disregarded for years now. For 4 years, we sat here with no seat, no representation for the last 4 years on this seat. Mr. Mayfield, I don't know who you are. I've asked about you. I can't find one person to tell me who you've commercial fished with. That's not an affront on you. But we've got multi-million-dollar industries here that's been around for decades who their voice has been drowned out. No offense to you, Mr. Mayfield. I'm sure you're a great guy. In fact, you do the tuna dip. Is that right? I love it. It's great stuff. So nothing against you personally. This is about the fishermen, how we've been systematically disregarded. It started 7, 8 years ago with all the net stuff. It started when they made this commission advisory only. That was an attack on this fisherman. So I hope that moving forward, here's our request. We need to ease back on some of this, and I hope the senators are listening. Let's ease back on some of this private leasing. We believe that we've been sold a bill of false pretenses on the need for this leasing program. We've been told that we need this private investment to spur the reefs. The truth is Mother Nature takes care of 100% of it, and it's already doing it. It's already there. And so let's quit telling lies about why we need to do these things. Our senators, let's review this. Let's go back. We would agree to let's lease 20% and let's keep 80%. Why do we want to give away our crown jewels right when they're coming at the steam? These fishermen have been starving to death for decades. And here we are, a chance to recover what we've lost for so many years. And you're going to take it right out from underneath them like a slap in the face. I don't know how you stand up here and look these fishermen in the eyes. But I'll tell you, I just better hope I never get elected to the Senate or the legislature, because I'm going to fix it.
Ryan,
That's enough.
you know, man, you can be straightforward with each other. We've been straightforward a lot of times on a lot of things. My question is, you know, you have the Mississippi Commercial Fisheries United, right?
That's right.
All right. On September the 20th, you publicized this.
That's right.
Why didn't the fishermen know about it?
We shared it out everywhere. The fishermen have been so beat down to where they're all having to work other jobs, work 3 jobs to make a
understand this,
living.
But I mean, you know, you get on social media and everything, and we talk about this, and you put it out. And today there's people here because they got the word. But you know,
Yeah.
I would think you're kind of the eyes and ears that they're looking at. But
Well, like I
you
said,
didn't
we
get the
feel
word
like
to
we've
them
been
either.
lied to, because year after year the agency has told us there's no oysters out there. The oysters are dead. The reefs are barren. All right. For years, they would take Jennifer Jenkins, they would take all the oyster dealers out on the boat and let them see the sampling. When's the last time y'all took any of the dealers out to see the sampling going on? When's the last time the Oyster Task Force was convened? So I'll take the blame. I should have been
Folks
raising
can take
hell.
blame. That ain't got anything.
I should have had these fishermen up at the Capitol raising hell when they were passing the legislation. But here we are. So, thank you.
Well, and I appreciate it, and like I said, you know, there's a lot of things out there that trying to get the word out. You try to do everything you can. I got told that Miss Rita back in her day would pick up the phone and call people or do whatever. Well, you know, maybe we need to get Miss Rita's attitude back in here if that's what we're missing. Maybe I missed something there. Okay. And
Let's drop the hate for the commercial fisheries. That's what we've had for many years, and it's time that it stops today. Okay.
But the point I'm getting at is, you know, we all got to work together here to get the word out when we do stuff, and you know, we got to work hard to be able to try to do this. And me and you have talked on numerous bases about a lot of different things with the fisheries. And, you know, and I guess maybe I put trust that you're talking to your people there, that the fishermen, and I'm talking to that by that because of what you represent. And maybe you are, and maybe I'm just not getting the right word out.
General, I hear your comments. You're trying to dismiss my capacity and my role. That's fine. Listen, General, let's continue to work together. Let's try to make this right. Again, these comments aren't directed at any individual up here or you, General. It's for Senator Mike Thompson and the rest of the legislators can hear what we have to say today. That's where these comments are directed.
And I understand that too, but I mean, I'm not one that's going to back down from taking blame. You know, and you knew that. If I've done something, I'm going to stand up to the plate and say I did it. Let's find out a way to fix it. As I always said, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake, nothing wrong with learning a lesson, something wrong with doing either one of them twice. and that's what I'm going to look at, and I'm going to try to find a way to do this. But as I said, I was very shocked when I saw that the people coming today, because I had no idea that they did not know. I had no earthly idea.
All right, Joe. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Richard Bosarge. Name and address, please, sir.
Richard Bosarge, Long Beach, Mississippi. 7156 Bell Circle. Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas. It seems that you are and have been taken by surprise by this group of us. And I think you were asking Ryan, Mr. Bradley, just how come, him being the leader, how come he didn't get the word out, with the social media or whatever. And he answered. He said that we were under the impression that there was nothing out there, and that's the propaganda that we've heard, and some may be true, some may not. Coincidentally, I sold off all my equipment, which fortunately I was able to buy back, right after I heard of a Daily Journal interview with Mr. Burris and his evaluation of, I can't quote him directly, but he did say that there was significant small spat, as if, some of the reefs had a heartbeat, and that this whole leasing program was a direct result of the state turning it over to leaseholders that could do such a good job to bring back and resuscitate and nurture this heartbeat. Well, to our surprise, we get out there, and every spot that we checked, it was mature oysters, and lots of them. And when I say mature oysters, I'm talking up to 6 inches. And it takes a little while to go from May 22nd, 2024 to significant spat to November 2024 with mature oysters. And I'm like in agreement with Mr. Bradley and with you. We prayed to Jesus today, and I believe he's God. We're not here to discuss that, but I do believe that 95% was God's doing, and the rest he used man on the other 5% to go plant the federally funded shell stock. And so I just hope that your prayers answered and our prayers answered. And I would like to make a request or vote on it that I think 25 sacks is a little high, because normally when you raise the sack limit, you drop the sack price. That inadvertently happens that way. The sack price drops. If you need data, we can give you data. But it also shortens the season. We would rather have a lower sack limit and a longer season. And typically the season would go to April. Hey, all of this is new to us. I was all in for the baby steps, 10 sack, 10 day here, 10 day December. Let's get some data. But I think it's like we're fully engaged, but it's like it's a teaser, because I feel like the rug's about to get pulled out from under us. When we were told all these years there wasn't even a heartbeat until May. So thank you and Merry Christmas.
Mr. Bosart, hang on. All right, two things. Number one, Jason, Rick, or someone else. We looked hard over the last, since 2019, we've looked at it hard as to what was there. And you know as well as I do in 19 that I got wiped out. You know what I'm talking about. But then after that, you know, we've been looking every year as to where are the oysters, where are the oysters, where are the oysters, and where, you know, how are we? Are we close enough to open a season? I mean, and they will tell you, we sit there and talk about it on a regular basis here about, is it there to open the season last year? Was it there to open the season in 2022, 23, 24? When was it there at all? Was there something? I know that they're going out doing sampling, and I know they try hard to do that. And Jason, you're welcome because he runs this program, but we're trying hard to look at that. It's not that we wouldn't. Now I know there's some big oysters, but they, you know, but you got to understand too that we went in after 2019 and we bought 1 million oysters that were already market size oysters and put them out into the Gulf out here to be able to just seed something so that those oysters could go out and seed the estuary. And
then
some
why
of those,
are we going to 25 sacks then? If we put forth all this effort to go purchase oysters for seed, why can't we nurture this, cultivate correctly?
Well, we
Have
can,
a little
and
education
I mean,
on how the fishermen should do. Or,
all right, you got to look at me. All right, I'm on this side of it and this side of it. I'm getting pulled both ways.
Gotcha.
One of y'all are telling me we need to raise it, and one of you telling we need to keep it. So y'all, you know.
I do have one other question though, if you allot me this.
Oh, I'll give you any time.
You made the statement to Ryan that we had to fight for that 20%. Who'd you have to fight?
Well, whenever we sat down and we were trying to decide what was going to do, it was pretty much how much could we keep for the state. And I tell you right now, we worked hard with the legislature to say why we felt we need to have, you know, state resources left. And I'm not going to throw any one of them under the bus. They do their job the best that they can, and I know that. And they try hard to do what's right. But the point I'm getting at is we were trying to find a number, and 20% was what we could come up with. And this was over a 2-year fight with that. It was about 20% is what we were able to keep. But, I mean, once again, I hadn't put the order out to change it to 25 and 15. I'm being told by one group that, hey, we'd like to do this, and one group not. Y'all need to come down here today. Before we walk out of here today, let's get together as a group and decide what we're going to do and where we're going to be. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about that we can't, that this situation now, and this is what I was looking at, I wanted to be able to get y'all as many oysters as I could. I wanted you to get as many as you could get right now, because if we do start leasing these things in January, then I can't give you a right to go fish them in February. So I need to know. And, you know, and I was looking at a way I could do that.
One way is you could close every reef that you have set. You could close all 20% of the reefs and let us go work the other reefs. And then we'll give you your data. And then we can come up on a number and let maybe the leaseholders have half of that, depending on what we see. And then we'll go back to harvesting. And we'll do some of the dirty work and the task force for you.
Well,
we're looking for the future here. That's why I mentioned something about a smaller sack limit and a longer season.
And you know, and
therefore the price would be still there.
I mean, we could close the 20% that we have the state right now and just hold off on it. And we could just close that and say we're not going to harvest that right now.
Obvious that you have the authority to do a lot, and you've earned that. And I want to give you a salute, and I'd like to dismiss myself.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments, though, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bosarge. All right, next up is George. Stores. Yeah. Stories. Okay. All right. George, full name and address, please, sir.
My name is George Stores. I live at 13 Campground Road, McHenry, Mississippi, 39561. Just up the road away, is not far. I have to echo exactly what John Living said, and a lot of what Mr. Bosarge just said, and even Joe. I love you, Joe. You're a good guy. But there's some stuff that just can't be. This can't be. 80%? Nah. There's some crooked crap going on somewhere. I'm not saying it's in here, but it's in Jackson. and it starts right along this coast somewhere. And I'm gonna go back to illustrate this. I'm gonna go back to when the Tongan Reef was stolen from us. They put us in a box. That happened in the summertime, and it happened because there was a big shot. They went up there in the summertime. They couldn't take it away legally, so they went up there and did it legally up there, which is still not legal. As far as I'm concerned, they don't own everything they say they own and put us in a box. We still have everything, except we just don't have everything. You know what I'm saying? We have it, but it's been stolen from us. So the lines are still there. The old lines are. I want to go back to the old lines. You probably can't do it or won't do it, but my point is it was taken illegally. And this 80% that we had to fight for so hard, that's illegitimate. We shouldn't have to fight for nothing. Zero, zip, nada. We don't need to lose anymore. If there's shells out there, if there's a hard bottom out there, we don't need to be giving it to anybody for any amount of money. Nothing. They don't deserve it. They've got what they can have. They got enough money to build a reef. Let them go build it back where they came from. They don't need to build it. Let them go south of Marianne and build it. That's a good place. It's close enough but far enough away. They could do that. They don't need to come on this side of past Marianne and have any more. I guess 20% is already gone, but don't give them this 80%. That's absolutely wrong, and there's not no good common sense in it to me. You guys look at it from a different angle, but I'm a fisherman. When I first started fishing, let me see how much time. When I first started fishing, there were like 12 people that ran. This building wasn't here. They was working out of Long Beach down at the girls' school before turning into Mississippi Southern. And I watched it grow from what it was with that dozen or so people to what it is now. And I watched every right I had and all our resources disappear slowly but surely, just like quicksand. So not that fast, it's slow. But it becomes that way because this is a bureaucracy now. And I'm not talking bad about it. Everything's becoming that. If you're a conglomerate of any type, you're going to be a bureaucracy. And when you become that, you're under the gun to a lot of people that you don't need to be under the gun to, but you don't have a choice. That's your job. You just have to handle it well, and I think you do a good job, Joe. I know you want to be an honest man about this. But I say, do not give 80% of our reefs away. They already got the 20. I believe in taking that back too. I believe we ought to take that back. The one other thing. Remember, you were on TV the other day speaking about the 1 million oysters that were off bottom raised, and that was a pretty good number. Sounds really, really good. That's off bottom stuff, and it is good apparently. But just imagine if we keep what we got, and you're getting when we got like 1,000 sacks to date, something like a little better than 1,000 in a short period of time that we were able to go and get ready to go, and there'll be more of us. We just got hit hard, not knowing this is going to happen. But just imagine how many millions we'd have had in that short period of time that we got compared to that 1 million they had to raise out there behind the island. And I don't take nothing from them. That's time consuming. They got to know what they're doing. Only reason I don't do it is because I live farther away and somebody's going to rob and steal from me. If they'll rob and steal out there on past Marianne or south of past Marianne, they'll do it right there too. So that's the reason I don't do it. I'm going to be guarding my stuff, and nobody wants me to guard my stuff. So anyway, I appreciate this, but take this to heart. It's common sense. Take the 20 back and don't give them the 80. That's what the fishermen want. I believe that's what we want. Am I wrong? Okay, pretty much right.
Mr. Stories, I have an ultimate respect for you, and you know that.
I do.
And I can tell you that obviously things are being listened to today. I can't promise you I can do anything.
I understand that.
But I would hope that our legislators will listen to this, and I think that they will, because most of them watch it in the podcast or whatever. That they do look at it and see what it is. But we will get the word to them.
Yes, indeedy. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. George, I have a technical question, if I could, General. So Jason showed earlier on the maps, we've looked at a lot of maps here, and I think that zones 3 and zones 4 have the public map open. Out of the 1,700 sacks of oysters that were harvested in the previous couple of months, what percentage of them come from the open areas that Jason spoke about earlier?
I hadn't been out there. I don't know. I mean, if you put that back up, no. And then somebody that's been doing or somebody that's been catching these oysters. Let Brad come back up here. Brad Stapleton. He's been. I'm just getting ready to go. I didn't. It hit me between the eyes when he said we're going to have a season.
Right there. So right here, 80% of the oysters have come from areas 2A and 2F. Essentially, it's the Tonganobox and the surrounding areas around the Tonganobox. Not much further from it. You're on the west side and the south side of the Tonganobox, and then in the Tonganobox. That is 80% of the areas that have been fished, and that's where we're seeing all the oysters come from. So all that area is open or was open for harvest in November and December. They can fish anywhere they choose on this map. But as it's been discussed, there was oysters that were easily accessible, close by shore, and plentiful.
Where's 2F on?
2F. It's area 2F. Top right, right there. Yep. But that whole area is 2F.
And once again, first off, you don't blame the oysterman because you know what, you go to the shortest distance you have to get what you can get. I mean, I understand that. But you're paying for the fuel, you're paying for everything else, and I understand that. And now, how much? I don't know what's out there in the rest of it. Jason, do y'all know what's in the rest of it?
So it was discussed earlier about the reefs and the health of the reefs. We do reef assessments every year. We've been doing them annually. And we have that data. We talk about it, like you mentioned, every year, and we go over everything. We've seen increases over the last couple of years of the resource, of the size class variations. We don't just want 3-inch oysters. We want seed oysters and sub-market oysters as well to repopulate if you take the market size oysters. Over the last couple of years, it's been getting better and better. This year, we discussed it, as you mentioned, and we felt that we could have a small season. 2 10-day seasons. That was our plan to start with. We do know that our culture plants are producing a lot of oysters. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing is our culture plants are producing the oysters. So it is a limited area with limited resources on them. So if you target those areas, you will find oysters. But outside those areas, we're still in the rebuilding phase of our
All right,
program.
Jason, if we can, and once again, I'm not trying to intervene with others talking, but I want to address things as we get to it. Right now, where have we put our majority of our resources that we have spent from the state of Mississippi that we have put in? Where have they been put?
We put some in area on the map. I'll just reference the map. So area on the west side of area 2E, we put significant resources in area 2A in the Tonganobox and area 2F, and then some in area 2G. That's been our recent, I'd say the last 5 years where we've put culture plants.
So we've not put any down St. Joe area or anything in that?
It's been a couple years since we put some in St. Joe.
Okay. And where did we put the large majority of the million oysters that we bought that were the market size, when we're trying to reseed?
So that's been a couple years, and I can get that information for you, but off the top of my head, I think it was area 2E, but I don't want to confirm that.
And the reason I say that, I think some of these oysters that we're seeing that are, that 5 and 6 inch oysters are coming off of those groups, a lot of it. And that's what I'm, I think the majority, and I'm just, once again, I'm going off, and I trust my staff because they do a hard job and they work every day to try to be able to do this. And they look at it as hard as they can to be able to come up with the right answer for everything. But I think that when you see those big ones, and I mean, you can tell me from your experience, and is that where you think they're coming from or what?
The large oysters are coming from the culture plants. I mean, we've seen good growth over the last couple of years. 2023 was we had great recruitment. We saw a good spat set. 2003 was an excellent year for us. So if they would have got started a year or two before that, they had a great year to grow, and then they had 24 also. So those could be some nice oysters. But
Do you guys sample all the areas yearly, or is it just a certain
So
location?
since the new legislation passed, we used to sample everything. We used to sample all the reef complexes, and we would randomize the samples and take as best of a total sampling result as possible. Since the legislation passed, we did sample only the state-owned reefs this last couple of years.
Thank you.
But they've had the ability to work any of those reefs. Did I hear that correctly?
That
Like
is
the-
correct. Everything on that map was open in November for harvest.
But once again, you know, if you catching fish out there, Ronnie, you're gonna catch where they at, right?
Oh, I ain't
And you're
running
gonna go as
50
quick as
miles
you
if
can and
all
get
I
there.
need's 10.
Thank you, Jason. All right, Mr. Brad Stapleton. Just name and city, please.
Of my life, and I'm here to. I kind of agree with these guys are saying, you know, we don't need to give this bottom away. We've been sitting here for the last 8 or 10 years waiting on it to come back. Y'all spent millions on it, a lot of time. The oysters is there. Y'all put that much effort on the resource. Why give it out to someone now? You know, and far as us not being informed, just like Mr. Living said, every one of us has an address on a license and stuff. There was nothing sent in the mail or anything like that. Can't depend on Ryan to inform everyone. It's not actually his job to do that. It should have been more of y'all's. And, you know, I just don't think it's right to one person just show up, or you say there's 18 agencies to show up to take these leases, and there's hundreds of families that depended on this before it being wiped out. You know, why take it from all of them when it's taxpayers' dollars to give it to the select few? That's kind of what we wanted to speak about. And, you know, we just don't think it's right. For generations, it's been here for the next person. And now once it wipes out, y'all was talking about putting a Linda K in the museum. You might as well take a picture of these fishermen and put them in it too, because you put them out of business. And that's about what I got to say.
Questions? Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
Any other comments on the?
Well, I mean, I would like a couple of things. Number one, like I said, I'm sorry, because I failed getting the word out. You know, it's just like the head coach of a football team. Whenever he doesn't win the game, he's the one that's got to take the heat. I'm the one that's going to take this heat. I can tell you that, because it's me. I did not do something correctly. I don't know what it was, but I'm going to find a way to correct it. And, you know, I thought I was trying to do everything I could. I apologize for that. I would like to get an idea before we leave from here today what y'all think. What do you really think about? Should we increase the number for 15 and 25, or should we leave it at 10 and 15, 20? What's the number we ought to do for the rest of this? Come up, tell me. Come on, I want to know.
I think you should leave the dredging at 20 sacks.
Okay.
'Cause if you raise the
Tongers.
if you raise for the dredgers, if you raise the limit, the price drops, and we'll be working the same.
You know, and I'll be honest with you, we did think about that when we was looking at this, and you know, when we went from 10 to 20, we looked at it and we said, well, if you're getting $50 a sack at 10, and you're getting $40 a sack at 20, you know, what are you really making here?
Right.
And
you're just working the reef for less money.
Yeah, but
I would leave it. I would like to see it at 20.
You would
for the
like.
dredging.
What about the tongers?
Tongers, I can't answer for the tongers. They like to see 15.
Can you state your name real quick for the record?
Aaron Tillman. Tillman.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm open about this. You know, so y'all think we ought to go to 15 and 20 and leave it at that? Is that? Can I get a shake? If you just raise your hand and give me an idea. All right, then Jason, we'll work on that. Okay. Where'd I leave Jason at? He's back there somewhere. Oh, right there. All right. So that'll give me an idea of what we're talking about. I can tell you that I'll be honest with you about this. That you know, once we do this, we got what 4 more days, or 3 more days, right? We got 3 more days. Is that correct? Yeah, this Friday it closes. we might keep it open to Saturday. We talked about that. You remember that? So we'll see what we can do about that. And, but then we'll be closed from that. But we'll look at what we can do to be able to open up a season in January and see what we can do with that. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. My name's Jimmy Ryle. I live in Pasture Strand, 2623 Nollet Road. I want to answer one of your questions. Why are we all in one spot? We drag a dredge for 30 seconds right there. It's puking. You can't drag it over 30 seconds. Everyone is going around and around in the same spot. We don't hurt that reef a bit. I mean, 30 seconds it's puking. And you could, where you drag it 5 minutes or 30 seconds, it don't make no difference. It's still puking in 30 seconds. That's why we stay in right there. That's why we haven't went nowhere else to look. We don't have to go nowhere else. The oysters has got to be 6 foot thick right there for all them boats go around and around there. Last day I worked, there was probably 15, 20 of us in the same spot, every dredge puking. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with you. I understand. You know, you're going to go where it is, and I don't blame you. I would do the same thing. You know, I would go to the quickest place I could and get what I can get because least amount of time I have to put in it. I understand that totally. Sir, I don't know. Other than that, you know, I can tell you that I will send the comments forward. I will send the comments forward to our legislators, and I will brief the governor on this, his staff, and let them know that this has been brought up, and I can tell you that because and once again it just caught me really off guard because I did not realize that y'all were not informed, and I can promise you this: that DMR will be better about getting, and it will be because I failed and not the staff.
Mr. Joe, you was talking about informing everybody about what was going on. Well, I know y'all have my number because I am the chairman of the Oyster Task Force, and I was never notified, and I know every fisherman here.
And I'm not sure that we called anybody, and I'm not sure that's part of the protocol that we do. It may have been something that Miss Reader just did, you know, and over the years because she'd been here for so long.
Well, I can tell you when Christina was in there, we were notified about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And, but I can tell you that
not.
it was never, ever an intention for you not to be notified.
Right.
And, I can tell you that with whole heart. And I know the staff never intended that not to happen. They thought that they were doing the best they could to do it. So, we will look at it. We'll learn a lesson. Okay.
I don't even know the new staff. I still call her.
Okay. Well, and love her to death. But we'll look at it. We'll modify what we're doing. And we'll try to do something better for next time, from here out.
Joe, one thing, I've learned a lot of stuff here today, but you know, across the board in fisheries, whether it be oystermen, shrimpers, we've got different sectors with different licenses. My kid's school, it's a text message that goes out to every parent. Why could we not implement something like that for updates per sector, just straight off of their license information? Why couldn't we set up a mass text that anytime there's important information, that if it's oyster guys, we have a group, hit the button and it's gone. It just seems like with today's technology, we shouldn't have been blindsided like this, you know?
Commissioner Daniels, I will take that 100% and look at it. And you're right. I mean, that could have been a lot of things. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure if every one of them's they give us a cell number, but whatever they give, but we could try to do it. We could try any way we could. But once again, we'll look at our procedures. It's not going to just be for oysters. It's going to be for everything right now. Okay.
Thank you, Director. All right, that is all the public comments we have, and I think Did we,
Aisha.
Grand Bay, Aisha Gray?
It's a big show to follow. I hope you got something good.
Yeah.
Hey, actually I do. So, good morning, everyone. So this is our, is it on? Yeah. This is our report from the Star Party. So we had our big open house event at the Grand Bay Near this weekend on Saturday. We had 251 people, 8 volunteers, and 15 staff that worked the program. We didn't see any meteors, but it was a really nice night with a full moon and a clear sky, and that's something that we haven't had that I can remember. And the entire time we've had the star party, there's usually fog that's kind of blocking the view, but we were able to see 4 planets. Saturn's rings and Jupiter's moons were also spotted. So we had a lot of excitement. We had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction with Santa in the beginning, but these 2 ladies fixed that right up. So that's Bree and Caitlin, who helped to make this go off really smoothly. We continued our pictures that we take every year with Santa, and you can see that we have a lot of folks that come to the Star Party year after year. So we get to see a lot of growing families there. And that is really a pleasure to watch people grow up making the Star Party and the Grand Bay Near part of their tradition. We had a lot of fun crafting. We made ornaments using myrtle wood from the reserve that was cut into little circles, and also pine cones from the reserve. I had many people come up to me and tell me that they have ornaments over the whole 10 years that they've been going, and that we do something different every time, so that we're adding to the decorations in their house. The hayride was great, very brightly lit with that big full moon. And the stargazing was also wonderful, as I mentioned. So we had a lot of people and a lot of things that we're able to see on that nice clear sky. That's Venus and Saturn in that view. And then soup and cookies as usual on the patio. A lot of people meeting up with old friends and having a good time. And overall, the whole purpose of the Star Party is so that we can get people into the Near, so that they can have fun and learn. And I was really excited to see so many kids so curious about the natural resources that we have here in Mississippi, and so many people interested in what the Near is and then what we're doing. So we'll be back next year in 2025, continue to making a family tradition. And Jennifer Cumbus there will have a couple of extra boys to join us next year. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. All right. I guess that concedes the meeting today. If we have a motion to close.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Director.
You too, Jimmy.
That was a lot. I didn't even look at the email. She sends those, I don't ever open them until. I ain't gonna be able to make it.
I'll help out where I can. I didn't know if you want to do it from your cell phone. Yeah, computer.
It's 11:30. If that's what the email says, and that's what it is, I just did. Yep, 11:30 a.m.
Get out of here.
I put it in my calendar.
Thank you.
I got it. I was gonna try to get it.
Way that we can do it. Oh, I'm horrible too.